The content presented in this podcast and YouTube show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health or a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard or seen on this show. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guests, and producers of this show are not responsible for any adverse effects resulting from your use of or reliance on any information presented.
Andrea, can you hear us?
Many years ago, I died for 26 seconds. There are so many people in this world that have experienced life events that have led to their soul purpose. Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea will bring you these significant life events that demonstrate how to use those moments for guidance and life purpose. These are our stories. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea Lynn. Today's guest is Michelle Hensley, and she's here to talk to us about how you can start to create your dream career. Now, this did not happen for her easily. She had to go through some very difficult times, and she's going to talk to us about how she came out of this on the other side. Let's welcome Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Andrea. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here and sharing this and being vulnerable. And I want to honor your husband too, because you said today is 11 years since his passing. And so just had to take a moment for that, because I know the whole reason we're here today and the whole reason you have become what you've become is because of that. So let's go back 11 years ago and let's talk about what your life was like then.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. Again, thank you for allowing me to be on the show. And hopefully, as we shared earlier, somebody would be inspired and launch their own business and move in a direction that would help others. I would say for me, the journey started in 2012, where I was a homeschool mom and supporting my husband, who's a pastor of a church, never, ever thinking that it would be anything different than that. I was running a nonprofit feeding the working poor. So I was able to work. I like doing things like that have a meaning and have some kind of an impact. I had no idea the future would hold what it's holding now. But during that time, I just know be the best I could be with where I was at. So I was fully supporting my husband, and we're in the city of Orange, California. I live in Old Town Orange. It's a small community. It's the largest small town in America. So it's kind of cool. Shout out. It's cool. But I was a counselor, as I said, everything was pro bono. I worked in the nonprofit, not to create income, but the nonprofit was to feed the working poor. We went through a really difficult time economically as a state and a nation during that time. A lot of people were impacted. So I was able to start and run this nonprofit, and we would feed about 73,000 people a year. Wow. So it was pretty significant in the area that I was in. So I was happily doing those things and then launching children at the same time. So Eric's first wife passed away from the same cancer. So there were 4 children without a mom and a dad. So that was when he passed. It was very sad. So as a counselor, I was counseling a doctor and his wife, and my husband said, "Hey, I have a mole growing out of control. Can you take a look at this?" And the doctor said, "Yes, come on in and we'll do a pathology on that." Well, within 2 days, he was being wheeled into a hospital to have surgery, or at least to do a scan and see what was going on. Found out that he had 7 tumors and it had already metastasized. It went from stage 3 to stage 4 within 30 days.
Wow.
Throwing our whole life into a whirlwind. And as we shared earlier, my faith is very strong. So here I am thinking, I'm a pastor's wife. We believe in God. I pray every day. I read my Bible. He's going to be fine. And so even though that was a busy time for us and me trying to figure out what to do, hospitals and chemo and all the different things, I just kept grounded in my faith. And over the next 2 years, it was just a run. The cancer spread to his bones, it spread to his brains, and he ended up passing from a saddle pulmonary embolism. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's a blood clot that sits over the heart and lungs. So he felt like he was drowning all the time,
Yeah.
especially the past 2 to 3 months before his passing. And then I was faced with, okay, what does a pastor's wife do? I took care of the poor, I took care of children, and now I'm faced with a mandate that's actually given to us by God, and that is to take care of the widows. I never thought about the widows until I became one. Just never did. It was not even on my radar. I'm ashamed to say that, but it's really the truth.
Yeah.
So then I was faced with the church was going to pay me for a year. And there was quite a bit of a mess I had to clean up because he was very sick for a long period of time. And I did not know how to do anything. So I am that 70% of widows whose husbands are gracious and do everything, but it also puts you at a deficit.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to pay a bill online. I had to learn I would shake when I was driving just because my normal had completely shifted. Our family became a little fragmented because the church we had built was now passing over to somebody different. It's kind of interesting. You have a lot of feelings you have to manage. And so I continued the nonprofit for the next year. It has now since turned into a micro grant program for widows to learn to have a little bit of grant money to get a business started.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I was going to actually get rid of it, but my CPA said, no, you need to keep that because you have a 5-star in finance and who knows what you can do with it. So I've been really blessed to keep that.
Yeah.
But that next year, it was closing down the nonprofit and finishing that up and moving that off of the facility. So a year later, in July of 2015, I knew I had to get a job, and because now my stipend had stopped.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what direction I was going to go into. So I didn't have clear direction at the time. I was like,
Okay.
Lord, what do I do?
Yeah.
Where do I go? I don't know what to do. So somebody who was a volunteer inside the nonprofit said, Michelle, hey, why don't you come and interview with this company? And I think it'd be a great opportunity. It's a director for a rehabilitation center. So you'd have about 300 staff, but it's also 5-star. So you will be on call 24 hours a day. So when I interviewed with this man, I've got tunnel vision, to be honest, because it's like when I was young, that would be a great job to have. Now that I'm older, and I was 51 at this time. So I lost him at 50.
Mm-hmm.
A year after is when I started the business I currently have. And this is just hope for those who are older, just because we might be in our silver years. So, there's a lot that can happen. But the truth is, there was a little bit of a stigma attached to, okay, I've been out of the workforce for 14 years. I've been raising children. I'm a homeschool mom. Like I was all those things.
Yeah.
During that interview, I just thought, this is not my dream. It's not my vision. It's not the vision we had. And I want to launch these last 2 kids out into the world. And I thought, I'm driving home from that interview. I was very thankful and understand the work that needed to happen. But at the same time, how am I going to do this with 2 kids still at home?
Yeah.
So I thought, is there a way to start a business where I could work when I can and want to versus have to? Like, can I even do that? I love the Uber business model. Can I somehow do something to where women can work from their homes? So I wasn't sure how that was going to pan out because I didn't have the background for this at the time. Just because I went to school, I have 2 master's degrees, doesn't mean I know what I was doing. It's theory, it's theory.
Yes. Very true.
It's just, it wasn't reality. The
No.
counseling I used all the time, but for the business, I did not. So I got out and one of my sons said, hey, Mom, you had a gift basket business when you were young. Why don't you start that again? And I said, that is a really good idea. Okay, keep in mind, I did not know what I was doing. I went from nonprofit, giving everything away, and I'm now supposed to have a for-profit business. I was fooling myself, but I did.
Your son said you had a gift basket business before. Do it again. So you had a business then before.
I did when
So
I was in my early 30s.
Okay. So you kind of knew what you were doing, or no?
Yes, but because everything had changed, now it's outbound marketing. It was just everything had changed on the marketing side. So, but I did have the skill set and know what I did wrong in that business.
Okay.
So that's what I kept in mind. But I asked the gals around me, my daughter-in-law, my friend, my sister, hey, do you guys like the idea of working from home and trying to figure out how to work remote? And they all are, yes, let's do this.
Yeah.
So it was not popular back then. Working remote was not popular, but we figured it out. We just kept learning and growing. And eventually I went to work in the financial services space. I became board certified as a life, grief, and finance coach because I wasn't sure of the direction I was going to go.
Okay.
I started Nifty in 2015 and just began to skill myself. I just began to learn what I didn't know. And I learned how to invest. I learned real estate. I learned all things finance. And I learned understanding cost of goods and spreadsheets and things like that.
Okay.
And then how to communicate via workspace and email and phone with this remote work. And then when we had projects, which started to happen, we started to grow pretty quick, then we would come in and work out of my garage. So I converted one of the rooms into inventory room and learned how to manage that. It took a few years to do that, but the gift basket business started to grow. I went to work in the financial services space. And then in 2018, 3 years later, I was praying and I saw my van sitting there, not being utilized all the time. So I still had this mindset of pastor's wife, nonprofit, really trying to figure out how to ask for money. I didn't know that was going on in my mind, but it was.
Okay.
How do I change from a ministry mindset to a merchant mindset?
Mm-hmm.
And saw my van sitting there and I thought, gosh, that van's not being used all the time. I wonder, does anybody like wrap gifts? I make gifts. Could I wrap them?
Yeah.
Is that even a thing? So once I was done with my Bible study and praying, I got online and I looked up, there was one person in Minnesota doing this. And I thought, I am going to put up a web page and I'm going to start wrapping gifts. Some people will say, well, you took your craft and you made it this. No, I did everything out of a desperate need to earn an income. Then I just used what I felt I was hearing and put it into action. So got a call from one of my clients that's on corporate gift side. And he said, Michelle, I hate wrapping gifts. Can you come wrap gifts for me? So I pile everything in the van. I don't really know how to wrap gifts except for what I always make them beautiful for holiday, but not professional yet.
Okay.
So got to his house, wrapped all the gifts. I was so excited. I stand back. I'm like, look at that. I did a great job. And I forgot to label gifts. Had to unwrap and rewrap everything. So I just posted pictures but I learned a valuable lesson that day. And then I got a call in 2019 from Too Faced Cosmetics. They're kind of an edgy brand.
Yeah.
And asked if we would do a design for them and a big scale gift wrap and fulfillment job. And I was just so excited. So we did that job and they got about 1 million hits on their Instagram. And then that summer, I got a call from the Kardashian estate manager saying they've been following my Instagram. Would I be interested in designing for them? And I sent a message to my boys. I'm like, who are the Kardashians? They're like, Mom, they're the number 2 influencers under Trump right now. So you have to do that job. So I piled my team. At this point, I had about 7 gals working for me. And I knew this could potentially be a bigger job. So I took them out to Calabasas with me. And she did not like anything I did. She didn't like anything. So very sweet, both her and Kanye, despite what the media tells you, very sweet.
Okay.
This manager was darling. So anyway, I walk outside. I'm like, Lord, I cannot go home without a sale. So I transitioned from pastor's wife, mom, grandparent to I'm a full-blown merchant at this point.
Uh-huh.
So I walk in and I ask if anyone has any fabric. And one of the gals said, I have some fabric. So I did a Firashoki wrap, which is a Japanese fabric wrap. And she loved it. So that launched me into greater worth celebrity work. And then over the next year, 2020, we had COVID. So when COVID happened, we'd already been set up to work remote. And I was teased a lot through networking and I just had to grow in all these ways, but we already knew what we were doing. So we'd already mastered those skills. So we just grew more. And over the years, I'd been asked by universities and colleges, how did you do this? And then I started training gals across the nation to work for me, to work for Nifty. And now we are the #1 mobile gift wrapping business in the nation, as well as the luxury gift basket. So our clients are more high net worth.
Okay.
We do $40 and $50 gifts, but our average gift sales $230.
Okay.
So I always want people to find out who their client is, but that's kind of my story on how I became the number one gift wrapper in the nation.
That's amazing. What I'm hearing that's really important for people to take away is just pivot, 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 because it sounds like every time something wasn't quite working, you didn't just throw your hands up in the air. You kept trying in some way or another. You walked out of their house and they didn't like what you provided. And it's like, well, what can I do? Instead of just, okay, let's see what job comes next. You didn't even give up.
Yeah.
You went back for more, which I don't know if I would have. I probably would have.
It's because everyone was watching me, to be honest. It was a pride thing. I'm like, there is no way I'm going home with the gals that are with me on everyone's thoughts. That's not happening. So we do a lot of high end gifts like Ferragamo, Coach. We do a lot of fulfillment for a lot of companies, Van Cleef and our pals, and Justin and Haley Bieber, great client of ours. And
I'm laughing because there's probably a lot of people, celebrities now that you're like, I didn't even know they were a celebrity.
I know. Because I don't have a TV. So I had no idea what entertainment was going on. I've been homeschooling kids.
Yeah.
It's my goal. And this year we were awarded, whether people agree with politics or not, the honorable ability to gift wrap design for the president and the first lady and JD Vance and second lady and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So we did all their designs
Yeah.
and won that job. And it's just an honorable job. Anyway, yeah, so I'm very
Well,
fortunate.
that's a huge success. And I agree with you. Despite politics, people have to still listen and hear the message. It's not even about that. It's
No,
the
it's
fact
just about
that
one thing.
it's a notable person. That's the fact, right? It's a notable person. And the fact that you got the job, like you got the job, that's huge.
Quite a blessing. And we've wrapped for sheiks, we've wrapped for the UN. So we wrap for whoever. Business is business. And if I could be a light to whoever, I want to be a light. That's my calling.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is the driving thought that you have in these moments where it's not working out?
Yeah, there's a gentleman named Les Brown. I'm not sure if people know who he is, but he's a great speaker. And the truth is, he uses this term, and I'm not a fan of it, but it kind of is true. And he says, you have to be hungry. And the truth is, you do. Like, I am my own provider. So I don't have something to fall back on. And I'm either going to do this or something else is going to come along. I feel like an open door and a closed door are what keep me moving forward. And my sons, you kind of do want approval from your family. And I'm very fortunate. My sons have done very, very well. And I like doing well as well. I mean, I think I'm motivated. I'm driven by applause and I'm driven by the blessing and the reward of, okay, I was able to do that. I give all glory to the Lord because I have a very strong faith this day.
Mhm.
But at the same time, Spurgeon said something that was great, and it was pray as if it depends on God and work for potatoes as if it depends on you. So I kind of lived that out. Did I do the right thing? Am I slothful? Am I diligent? Like there are
Yeah.
proverbs I follow as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of this past weekend. Actually, we were with some friends and we were just talking about just growing businesses and doing things like that, and talking about how you don't necessarily have to be the smartest person in the room. You have to be the hardest working person in the room. And because there's always going to be somebody else that's just as capable as you are. But if they don't work as hard as you are, like as long as you can outwork the person next to you, like, you're going to make it just fine. I think that's the key for a lot of people, is to have that drive. You have to. You can't just think it's going to happen.
I agree. I think a skill set can be a hindrance. And Kobe Bryant, I mean, I'm just fascinated by his work ethic. For an hour before everyone else got up, he would be out working out. And he's so right in terms of, if I'm up an hour earlier, so I'm up at 3:30 to 4 every day. And that gives me an hour of an edge. I was diagnosed at age 34 with dyslexic dysgraphia.
Okay.
So it wasn't because I read backwards. That's not even the case. It's a comprehension issue and a space issue. So I flunked out of law school, thankfully, out of the divorce lawyer. I'm very B-type. I would have felt sorry for who's ever getting in trouble. I really would have. So it didn't matter. I'm thankful for that path. But you have to, through that adversity, you have to figure out resourcefulness. And I think I've just always been a little scrappy in that. I had to figure out how to do this. I had to pass these tests. So I always had my mind to work on figuring it out.
Yeah.
And now it's popular to have a learning disability. It wasn't popular back then. You stuck
Yeah.
out like a sore thumb, and no one really knew that. They didn't call it that back when I was young, and you just had to work harder. So I think that ethic kind of carried me through up to today. I mean, there are times where I don't want to do anything. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I'm so,
Yeah.
and I'm just put things down and I go on a walk.
I completely understand because I have days like that too, where I'm like, oh, not today. I don't want to film today. I'm just like not. Like it takes energy to jump into a conversation with people, and sometimes I just want to be with myself.
Right. It's totally understandable.
Yeah, as much as I love talking, but then I remind myself of the goal and the mission here, and I know this is beyond me, and I know there's so many people out there that need to hear these things. I guarantee there's people that are going to listen to your story and they're going to think, okay, I can do this too. Like you're saying, it wasn't a business that everybody was already doing. So, I mean, I think people need to think about that too. If they want to do a business and it's already being done by 1,000 other people, like, yeah, I mean,
Right.
consider
And
that.
because I was asked from colleges and universities to teach them how to do this, I thought, you know what? I would rather teach women how to do this so that they can actually start a side hustle. And that's how most people view what I do on the gift wrapping side, the side hustle. But it can be a very lucrative side hustle.
Yeah.
And right now, there's a huge growth for it because it's like when Starbucks first came out,
Yeah.
because it just doesn't exist. And the malls are limiting, the stores are closing, and you still have people who want to have their gifts wrapped. AI can't wrap a gift, make a gift basket. Like there are jobs we can do where we just have to hustle and get out there and just you can print on white paper. No one really cares. I think we're so concerned about everything looking perfect when the truth is sometimes perfectionism is a hindrance to progress. And we just got to do it. But there is opportunity, and I do train women on how to run their own mobile gift wrapping businesses.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask. But so is this a franchise? Do you franchise it?
I'm in the process of franchising it, yes,
Okay.
but it's very costly to do that. And I bootstrap my business. So it's
That's hard though. I think the
It's-
franchise of this business, I could see it being a little bit hard just because you're kind of creating a work of art almost,
it
right?
is totally
And I don't want to say not anybody can do this, but not anybody can do this. I mean, I can't send you my 7-year-old. She's not going to be able to do the job for
right.
you. I promise. Like, so there's a little bit of art to gift wrapping for sure. I've seen my husband wrap gifts. I mean, it's getting better. It's getting better. It's doing great.
Yeah.
I don't.
So I have a class in a licensing so they can, people who have the desire, they're on the creative side. Like this is really good for florists or people who sew or people who already have an idea that they like creativity. Then now they can learn the skill set. Like I did a podcast with a gal about a week ago. She's probably the world's best gift wrapper. She's Japanese and she's amazing. But her gift is the art of gift wrapping. Mine is the business of gift wrapping.
Okay.
So where I teach people how to make a profit. And I've made so many mistakes. So I put together a class to where they can learn not to do those things and what are the right things to do. But there's a lot of people who teach gift wrapping.
Yeah.
What they don't teach is how to have a business of doing the gift wrapping.
It's not something that just everybody could do. But like you're saying, if you're already artsy and you already do that sort of thing, then it's going to work out for you. And I think we are very much in this time where people are hiring out anything they can. I mean, I don't do it. I'd love to do it, but we have people that hire people in our neighborhood to come and pick up their dog's poop. There's literally somebody you can hire to do everything.
Yeah.
So why not that? And like you're saying, the mall is limiting because a lot of people are online shopping, right? So you get all these gifts and they're sent to your house. Do you want to pick all those up and take them to the mall in a wagon or something? Like, no. So it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. So since business is your specialty, what do you share with people on how to create their business? And I'm really curious on, you've had a lot of success with big name clients. Do you have any tips on how you can gain a big client?
I think you have to skill yourself. And I'm always going to revert back to, for me, I'm going to give glory to God because I do pray and I seek the Lord. And there's no way you
Right.
can get some of these clients without some of that for me and my thinking. But I feel like you need to master your craft. So
Okay.
be good at it. Like some people get impatient. And we were talking about franchising earlier briefly. It's expensive to franchise. So then the person who's buying the franchise, it's also costly.
Yeah.
But on the licensing side, if you can get skilled and use the Nifty name, then that brand recognition, it's just like Target sells the same purse that Louis Vuitton sells for $100. So what brand are you going to, if you're into that, what brand are you going to purchase? And
So, okay, so people don't necessarily need to be franchised. Are you saying that people can be licensed with you essentially? As I went through the program of Nifty and I am a Nifty gift
yep,
wrapper, but it's not a
yep,
franchise, but that's where kind of like a school. I
yes,
went to this school or that school. I went to the Nifty gift wrapping. Okay.
training, business training and gift wrapping. There was a gal that worked for me in New York. She still works for me in New York, but she wants to be a good gift wrapper. And so I see some of their gift wrapping and it's very foo-foo-y. That's not the kind of people that hire us. We're Tiffany bows, we're beautiful pleated wraps that are very clean, very elegant. So I teach them less is more. And it's not that you're a good gift wrapper, it's how you wrap too. So we've wrapped for the Oscars. And I think it's just a matter of growing your brand. But because we have brand recognition,
Mhm.
that's why we get hired to do what we do. And, and we do a good job when we're out there.
I totally understand how it's kind of a snowball thing. Once you have one big client, it's that word of mouth piece where it's like, oh, you did hers? Okay, then I'm going to have her do. But how did you get that initial first big client?
It was Too Faced Cosmetics, I want to say from there.
How did you land Too
The
Faced?
thing is, what we do right now did not exist. So everyone was doing work on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all the Too Faced gals and guys, whoever was working in there, they're doing all the fulfillment and the wrap. I feel like they just Googled gift wrapping near me and we popped up.
Oh, wow.
So they saw our work and said, would you bid on this job? And would you create a design? And the design side is my favorite. There are two pieces to the business. I love empowering the team and I love the design side.
Mhm.
So that was very exciting. So we won that job. And I think doing that and the fulfillment, we learned new skills. We learned
Yeah.
large quantity of gift wrapping. And I just think that the word spread, just like you said, it went from one person to the next, to the next. And then we have longevity with a lot of these clients. And so that's how it's happened. And it's spreading now, but got, it's one of these things that is brand new. So people need to jump on the bed. I can't cover every area.
Yeah, I'm excited to launch this podcast, but then I'm also like, I feel like I need to launch it again near Christmas time when gift wrapping really
You
gets
do
pricey.
both times because people need to, I'm on a couple of the side hustle podcasts for different reasons. How do you use AI in your business, Michelle? Because we're so hands-on.
Mm.
There are a couple of side hustles that are great for creatives. The
Yeah.
other one would be the porch pumpkins. So I've encouraged gals. I did a video on that. I just get out there and hustle. I'm not married now. So it's
Yeah.
like I'm active. I'm physically in great shape. So it's like I just get out there and do the work because I have to earn the money. I also live in Southern California, probably the most expensive place in the whole United States.
Okay, so people listening that want to do a side hustle and they are thinking this might be for me, what can they expect to make doing this?
Well, if they get skilled up, they can make $180 per hour potentially, but
Oh man, that's good.
minus, yeah, minus their cost of goods, which we have all factored in, but they have to get their skills up. And that's why you want to be trained well and right, because it can well worth cover the cost of the class.
So
Just
do you work? Are they workshops? Do people like fly out and they come attend? Okay. Okay.
there's a couple of things they can do. Yeah. There's an online class they can take and do it on their own. And then they have free access to me. And when we close out, I'll definitely let them know. I am very open to calls, texts, emails, whatever, because I want their success. And the Nifty's name's tied to it. So
Yeah.
there's that. There's the book. They can buy the book. There are also the videos on YouTube. There's a cost involved, but they can license. And then there is the one day they can come spend a full day with me and I'll train them on everything.
Yeah.
But know what it's like to go around and be trained to do what I do.
Thank you. This is a very interesting side hustle. You're right. I think this is one that hasn't spread as much as it's going to. So I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of women, and I guess some men can rap.
Yes. I have 5 men that work for Nifty. So
Yeah.
they're really good. They're great at the details for
They
sure.
are actually better than they think. I just feel like
Mhm.
men don't want to do it. And so they're like, you do it, honey, you're better. And then like,
Uh,
no, I know you have the skills deep down. You got it. Thank you so much for sharing all this. Where can people find you? How can they look into this if they're interested?
There's a couple of locations. If they want to look up the business, it's called Nifty Package Co. They can look it up online.
Okay.
Also, I have michellehensley.com. It's my personal brand. And if they can get a free book there, if they'd like that. There's also classes there. There's blog posts, and it's all fairly new. So I want to say I launched it October, November. And the reason it's good to do this podcast sooner is only because people wait. So if it's more close to December, then it's going to be on the back end. Well, right now they need to start preparing for holiday.
Yeah. It's
And
like training and learning and yeah.
yes, and just getting themselves skilled. And then I have a YouTube video. I also do podcasts. I interview women who are over 50 who've had situations like mine, or they've sold their businesses, they've done well, they've had their ups and downs. So we discussed all of that. So it's basically the silvers.
Silver lining.
Yeah. And that's who the podcast is for, women who are over 50,
Okay.
predominantly. Anyone can listen, of course.
I'm just curious thinking about your husband and like, how do you, I don't know, like, do you ever look back on his passing and feel like it was just part of what was really meant for your path? Like, it sounds so awful to even ask that
No.
and think that.
Well, things are birthed out of tragedy. So I think looking back, I get to have the spirit of giving. I mean, giving is a love language for me. So I love giving. And now I've turned this into helping others give.
Mhm.
So I feel like he'd be happy. He'd say, okay, that you took you took a tragedy and turned it into something positive. And there's a book called Behind the Frowning Providence is a Smiling Face. And that is very true. Behind our difficult providences, things that happen to us, there is something that's birthed out of that. And this would not have happened. I mean, there are times I'm like, am I on the right path? And I think, yes, because this was completely birthed out of difficulty and I would have never done it. I just wouldn't have never even thought about this. I wouldn't be crying for days. How do I make this work?
Thank you for answering that. I know that's kind of a tough reflection to have. Nobody wants to be grateful for the loss of somebody, but I guess we can be grateful that we were able to pick ourselves back up and keep going. And I also feel like he had to have been part of this too, right? Like he had to have had his hand in the guidance. Yeah. Well,
100%.
thank you so much for sharing all this.